Now, Dr. Rich McCormick, conservative, Republican, Georgia 7. Dr. McCormick, thanks for being with us.
It's great to be with John. How are you today?
Never better. Glad to have you back. Want to give a shout out to your comms director, Julie Singleton, reaching out to me. And it's good when your comms people reach out to me. By the way, fantastic hire, fantastic lady. And she's going to do so many good things for your whole team there in GA7. So frustration is boiling over. I'm going to get to Doge in a minute, but a lot of us just were frustrated about the Trump's tax cuts getting re-upped. Got a bunch of you Republicans in conference want to get rid of the 100% first year deduction because, like yourself and me, they never ran a small business. That's frustration number one. Frustration number two is I can't believe we're sitting here today with majorities in all three houses talking about another CR. Can you help us understand what is going on? Obviously, your speaker's too busy going to Super Bowl games. What's the deal here, sir?
So, first of all, the CR is not the right answer. As far as the NDA, when we talk about military spending, it would disrupt our contracts in a significant way. We can't do that. A CR, even if you did a long-term CR, which a lot of people says that is an automatic 1% cut across the board, it's a great way to control prices. We have so much to fix in a budget that we can do responsibly, that we should agree on. Everybody wants the tax cuts to be permanent. Everybody wants it to be at about 21%. I don't think we're going to get to 15%. I just don't think we're going to. There's too many deficit hawks out there, like myself, quite frankly. They're really worried about the deficit, $36 trillion. We bring in about $5 trillion in revenue every year. We spend $7 trillion. That's a 30% deficit. If we don't do something significant, we will be downgraded again. We'll have a higher interest rate that'll add another $9 trillion over the next 10 years. We're not ready for that. We got to do something significant to get to the bottom of this budget.
So why are we even talking about a CR? I mean, why can't you just get a budget done and get it in committee? And then if you want to fight it out there, then at least we understand it. We don't understand. The grassroots doesn't understand why we have majorities in three houses. And in the House, Johnson can't even get one bill in committee. And so now Graham is coming in tomorrow with his bill. You got to deal with him. Why can't we get this done?
Well, we have a significant limitation in a couple different ways. First of all, the difference between whether we need a simple majority in the Senate versus a 60-vote majority. That kind of hampers based on the Byrd rules, which I'm not going to get into stuff that would put your audience to sleep. But basically, we're trying to find a package that we can push through with a simple majority. Because if you're compromising to get 60, you're going to get something that makes the Democrats happy too, which means you're going to have a bunch of extra spending in there, which we're trying to get rid of right now. So we have to deny some of the biggest spending items we have, which is Social Security, Medicare, right there, the two biggest spendings we have in government. We talk about just healthcare alone, we spend about $2.5 trillion, or at least over $2 trillion. Tons of waste. I can't wait to see what the Doge can do to slice that up and get rid of some of the waste, fraud, and abuse. But quite frankly, when we start to talk about divisive issues, whether it be SALT, whether it be individual breaks on tax on tips, or other things that we think maybe we disagree on, that's what's kind of holding us up. But quite frankly, I'm very frustrated because we haven't had a plan. I just asked last night to our whip team, I said, what is the top line agreement between the Senate and the House? Because we don't have that. Where are we starting from? We're starting from a position of confusion and basically getting our backs up against the wall. And my biggest criticism of leadership in the House so far has been we keep on putting things off. We have lots of discussions. And by the time we put something out, we have no other choice because our back's up against the wall. And if we don't do something, the government's going to shut down. Clearly, we don't want the government to shut down because to get it reopened would take 60 votes, which means we're going to make it very painful for ourselves. We're going to have a ton of spending we shouldn't have. And so we need to do the right thing, like you said. But we're not, it seems like we're waiting too long to get things through committees, to get things to the floor, to get things passed, to get a sensible budget passed. But once again, it's not as easy as you think when you have only a 2 to 3 vote majority. And that's the realities. I mean, quite frankly, our Constitution was designed to be inefficient government, and we're proving that right now. but it was proven to be inefficient and to have a lot of compromise, even when you're in the majority. Remember last time we had 2 reconciliations passed was 1997, I believe. And we had a 40 vote majority at that time. We don't have that right now. So this is complex and seems like harassment and seems inefficient, but it is inefficient by design so the government would not become more powerful than the people. So remember, the process was designed by our founding fathers to make sure that we were inefficient on purpose.
Well, it certainly didn't matter to Speaker Pelosi when she was Speaker. She had a 2, 4, 5 seat majority. She got everything passed she wanted. Impeachment, it didn't matter. She got it passed, and she got it passed in a heartbeat. I mean, she went on TV one day and said, I think we're going to look at impeachment, and 2 days after, they're having hearings. So she got it done. I mean, is she like the greatest leader of all time? When you went to whip leadership, and I appreciate your candor, Dr. McCormick, when you went to whip leadership and voiced your frustration, and I'm not a fan of whip leadership, everybody knows. You go to whip, I'm not even going to mention the names, and he sunk my AM radio in every car bill. Scalise did that. All he does is sing stuff. So when you went to Scalise and said you're frustrated, what did he say?
Well, I went to actually the whip team, not the leaders team, but I'm trying to get people to whip up the votes to get things passed. I'm trying
What
to
did they
ask about
say when you said you were
minutia.
frustrated? What was their response?
Actually, I just was reading it to somebody else this morning. Basically, we'll talk about it today. There's obviously a lot of minutia, but I don't think they have a top line number we agree with the Senate. If we don't have that, we have started at a point of impasse to begin with. The fact that Lindsey Graham is being aggressive, good on them. I mean, the aggressive to the victor go the spoils. When you're aggressive, when you get the first shot up across the bow, you are now in control of the legislative efforts because now we're reacting to them instead of vice versa. I think we've been at this for a long time. We've been in the majority for over 2 years. Why shouldn't we be ready to roll straight out of the gates? It's not like we didn't know this was coming. When we did the last CR, and I voted against it, I'm one of 34 that voted against the last CR because I thought it was a bad bill. And by the way, when you have 100% of the Democrats vote for it, you know it's a bad bill. So I'm a fiscal hawk. I'm gonna keep this body accountable. But I also realize that I'm gonna have to compromise. I'm not gonna get everything I want to get out of this. There's gonna be some things to get by in order for somebody to get their vote. We're gonna have to put some things in there that I don't want as a fiscal conservative. But at least I'm willing to get it done, and let's get it on the table. And I feel like we're just really slow rolling this, and we don't have much time.
Dr. Rick McCormick with us, Republican member of Congress, 7th District, Georgia. So before we get into Doge, your district changed from 6 to 7. Just walk us through that so we kind of know the area now that you represent.
Sure. So we still have all of North Fulton. Actually, we expanded. We have now Johns Creek and a little bit further down in the south in Sandy Springs. We lost Cobb, which hurt because I love Cobb. We lost Sugar Hill and Gwinnett, which I loved also. We performed very well there. We still have all of Forsyth. We have East Cherokee to include Ball Ground, all of Dawson, all of Lumpkin County now, which is new. And then we have West Hall, which is also outstanding. We have Flowery Branch and a small portion of Gainesville. So we basically surround Lake Lanier. It's a phenomenal district. It performed way above expectations. We had the largest voter participation in Georgia by percentage. We had the biggest win over PVI, in other words, expectations. We have an amazing education system. It's the wealthiest district in Georgia. It's one of the top 5 most wealthy districts in all of the United States. It should be actually a juggernaut when it comes to politics. It's been way underdeveloped. We're going to do something about this year, and I'm really excited about this district.
All right, so Dr. McCormick, that's 7th District. So now that represents, because I used to live in Roswell for a very long time. So that
Great
represents
place.
Sandy Springs, Roswell, Milton, Johns Creek, Forsyth County. Do you have all of Forsyth?
All of Forsyth.
That's a great district.
It's a phenomenal district. And by the way, you mentioned Roswell. A heart goes out to our police officer, 24-year-old male, who's never going to come home again. Shot a line of duty. They haven't had one of those since the 80s. Really heartbroken because that's a great community, a great place.
In Roswell?
Yeah, in Roswell.
My heavens. I forget who the mayor was there now. I know I voted for, back in the day, I campaigned for Lori Henry. And I think she was mayor and then got ousted, but I kind of lost track of it. But it's good to It's good to talk about those. I was in Roswell a very long time. Both my kids went to high school there. The older ones, the younger one, obviously the baby, we moved around.
We have the most top 25 schools of any district. It's a phenomenal district. I just really couldn't be more blessed.
Well, I always enjoyed being in the area, no doubt. Let's get to Doge and these judges, unelected judges. Basically, the liberals shop some left-wing communist judge somewhere to stop President Trump's orders, which are legal. What is the overall consensus on this? Should the president just say, "Hey, thanks," and go forward? What should we do?
That's what he's going to do. This guy is a guy of action. He's limitless energy. It's phenomenal to watch him go. A lot of people say, well, this is what we did with Biden. The difference is when Biden did something, it was against the will of the people. Nobody wanted to have open borders. Nobody. And when people talk about, oh, this is money that's set aside to be spent. Well, when you talk about the intent, we're allowed to spend less to get the same job done. And quite frankly, Biden would spend more to get less job done. He'd hire extra border agents to go down there and process people into the United States. That's just the opposite of the will of the people. President Trump is doing things that the people actually want. He's not going against it. He's not being outrageous. The things that Biden did had to be challenged because it was things that he should have never done, for giving $500 billion of student debt, picking winners and losers in businesses, talking about transgender, talking about women's rights, and actually trampling all over them. The people did not want those things. The difference between Biden and Trump in executive orders is that the people actually support what Trump's doing. What he does is popular. He's at 53% popularity. He's killing it. People want to see the things he's doing. He's doing what he promised, and people like it.
What do you think Elon Musk should do? Should he continue just exposing this waste? I mean, the other day he comes out and he says, look, I had a meeting with the Department of Treasury, and these are staffers. These are not Trump appointees. These are career staffers at Treasury. Said that between $1 billion and $2 billion a week is wasted on fraud. What is your reaction to that, sir?
Well, this is why we're going after the CFPB, which is illegally funded and illegally created by waters. And I think these kind of regulatory burdens that we have from these absolutely horrible institutions need to be addressed. There's some places we need to get rid of the CFPB. We need to get rid of extra regulation that hold back our businesses. When you talk about the Treasury, oh my gosh, it's just the tip of the iceberg, because quite frankly, healthcare is going to be the golden trough. You're talking about a $5 trillion industry in the United States. $5 trillion by itself, it would be like the third largest economy in the world. There is so many people with their beaks in the trough. If you look at the top 7 industries in the Fortune 500, they're insurance companies. 7 of the top 10. People are frustrated with their insurance policies, the fact that they don't pay what they're supposed to, the fact that they keep on increasing their premiums every year, and we get less and less out of it. I cannot wait for Elon to keep on peeling this back. We've done this in the past. There's been a lot of group advocacies that have exposed all kinds of fraud, but we've never really done anything about it. We haven't had the will. The fact that we're now using the bully pulpit to show how much waste, fraud, and abuse is out there is brilliant, and I think it's going to result in some very good things.
Dr. McCormick, you spent a storied career in the military as a physician. What is your take on RFK Jr., and do you think he'll get confirmed?
So I've spent time with him actually in a small room talking specifics. He's actually a deep thinker. He's very intelligent. He's well read. We don't agree on everything. That's okay. The nice thing is he's not there to be a political activist. He's there to protect our individual rights. I like that. For example, I don't believe that the booster shot for COVID is good. He doesn't believe that either, but it doesn't really matter. He's not out there to legislate your life, to tell you that you and your doctor can't make a decision that you want to make. He's not a political activist in that way, but he's going to make sure that you're not forced to do something that you shouldn't have to do. And that's what we agree on. And that's what we believe in, the individual rights of people when it comes to their healthcare concerns, that you're not pigeonholed, that we actually are proactive instead of reactive. The obesity epidemic in America is the biggest problem we have with healthcare. Obesity is what leads to diabetes, to all kinds of joint problems, heart problems, cancer, you name it. To get our system weeded out of things that are contaminating our foods that other countries have outlawed for a long time, that's a good thing. So I'm looking forward to working with him.
What's your top priority?
My top priority is cut costs. We are so addicted to spending. We're in a 30% deficit every year. To put things in perspective, not to scare you, but if you only had debt to pay off and no interest, which is about $1 trillion per year now, which is more than we spend on the military, just in debt servicing, just in the interest payments, $36 trillion. We bring in $5 trillion. If you didn't spend money on anything in the government, no Social Security, no Medicare, no Medicaid, no military, no nothing, no Congress, no presidency, which would collapse the government, by the way. It would collapse our economy. But let's say you didn't collapse the economy by some gift of God, and you paid nothing but debt with no interest. It would take you over 7 years to pay it off. We are about to be downgraded again. It's going to increase our interest rates for all our bond and all of our debt, which is going to increase, once again, $9 trillion added onto the budget for the next onto the deficit in the next 10 years. If we don't do something about this, it will be catastrophic to our economy because we will lose our place in history as the world currency standard. People don't realize what that means. That means no longer is the gold standard the United States greenback, but it's going to be something else. Whatever that is, I don't want to know, because it could be something that the BRIC is trying to come up with, or some digital currency that we're all going to be tracked on. I don't know, but it's not a good thing, and it's going to be very bad for our economy and for the living standards of our heritage, our children, our children's children.
So why are your Democratic colleagues defending waste, abuse, and fraud? And corruption. I'm trying to figure this out.
What angle do they have? This is what they've instituted all along. But quite frankly, we've been part of it too. Since 2004, when we were in charge with President Bush, you saw that exponential curve take off, and it lasted about 2014. From those 10 years, it's actually worse than the last 10 years, believe it or not. Now, not much worse, but worse. That started on our watch. We are as culpable as anybody else, but the Democrats right now are just looking for anything to look away from the mess that they really have bought into. And when you look at the horrible spending process that we've had, the waste and fraud, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to find some way to line this with a gold mining. And I was just talking to Democrats last night. They said, look, you won by mandate. What are you going to do now? So it's up to us to find a way.
Dr. Rich McCormick, I want to thank you for being with us. Representative, Republican, Georgia, District 7. That's North Fulton, Forsyth. Some of my most favorite areas. Also, some of East Cherokee County. It's like the best district in America. After you describe this, I'm like, that's the best district in the country is right there.
You got that right.
It's good to have you back, sir. Good to have you with us. And thank you, as always, for your candor. And also thank you for admitting Republicans have been part of this problem. This is not a partisan issue. Your party has been as culpable as anybody. Wars to nowhere, the whole bit. That's why I've been railing against that for some time. But Dr. McCormick, thanks for being with us. You want to follow him on social media? I'll do it at Rep McCormick, 2 C's, at Rep McCormick. Shout out to his comms director, Julie Singleton. Thanks, Doc, for being with us.